So, I mean, even within that, I could have stayed in a conventional path in TV. For 7 years, I did really stay in a conventional path in TV. I was a scriptwriter who became a producer, who became a marketing manager, who went back to production. I produced live TV shows every night. I worked as a director. I had the opportunity to become the head of the channel eventually, which was a DSTV channel. I then later started another DSTV channel. I had that option to really stay in that pathway that I was going in, and I was growing at a very fast rate. I had a lot of people who were older than me in the industry who felt like, how was I getting ahead at such a young age? But then I decided that I was bored, which maybe isn't the best reason to leave a job, but I am very much the type of person who likes to try new things. And for me, trying new things and growing is very important. So when I was in the TV industry and I was learning new stuff, so I'm learning a scriptwriter, I'm learning to be a producer, I'm learning to be a director, I'm learning to run a channel, I'm learning to start a channel from scratch. For me, those are all challenges. They were things that excited me. Once it became, I've now done this for 2 years and I'm doing the same thing every day, I needed a new challenge. And so for me, I don't know if there's necessarily been a moment, to come back and answer your question, where I've been like, okay, I need another pathway. I think a lot of it is built into my personality, which is like, I need a challenge. And yeah, I left TV at that point because I needed a new challenge. So,
Wendy, I can definitely identify with you on that one. I think it's the distinction between, are you an entrepreneur or are you entrepreneurial, right? So you can develop entrepreneurial thinking in a job, but there are certain personality types. I think you and I are similar, because when I was working in universities, after doing annual reports for 2 years, I thought, well, I want to do something new. And after doing fundraising and maybe getting a certain target, like, okay, what else can I do? I've got this down. So it's almost like there's a hunger to grow and the hunger for skill set. So is that kind of when you realize, but I can actually design my career path? I'm getting bored of this. I mean, you kind of being very blasé about your TV work, which is quite impressive. But for you, it was like, let's do something else. Is that kind of the point where you're like, how can I design my career? What do I want to do? Tell us more about that.
So I think really becoming intentional about how I design my career came around the time that I decided to leave the TV industry. My husband and I got married at some point during this, and my husband and I decided that we wanted to design our lives together. So he works in an industry where a lot of the time he would need to be overseas and traveling. And so there was an option where we would possibly be able to live overseas for 2 years. And then it was a case of, well, how would we do this? Like, I wouldn't want to just go live there and have nothing to do. I wouldn't be able to get a visa to work. And so then we started thinking about, well, what kind of career could I do that would allow me to work overseas? What kind of jobs could I do? And I then at that point went, okay, what I need is a non-location based career. And that really also suited a lot of the values that I have. A lot of the values I have are around like freedom to move, to own my own time, to do my own things, to not be restricted by things around me. And because of that, I started, while I was at TV, volunteering for a nonprofit organization who I knew would be willing to allow me to work overseas if my husband went, because of various factors. And so I volunteered for them about 15 to 20 hours a week on top of my full-time job in TV. So that's why when I said I've always been entrepreneurial and hardworking, those two things have gone together. So I was volunteering 15 to 20 hours a week for a year. And after that year, they said to me, we have a position opening as a marketing manager. Would you like to take it? I then said yes, because it fitted a lot of the things that where I wanted to go. And I took that position and they said to me, oh, but we don't have space in our office for you. You're going to have to work from home. I went, yes, because this fitted within the role, like the career path that I was trying to carve out for myself, being non-location based. So the fact that they actually accelerated it for me was just an advantage, because it then gave me the opportunity, which a lot of people have now discovered during COVID. So this was back in 2012, I think, when working remotely wasn't really a thing, especially in South Africa. And even though we were in the same city, I wasn't in the office all the time. I'd go in once a week really for like a weekly check-in, and the rest of the time I worked from home. And it gave me the opportunity to build up trust and credibility with the organization that I was working with. that I didn't need to be in a space to actually get my work done. And then that gave me the freedom to later, we ended up not moving overseas for 2 years, but I moved from Johannesburg to Port Elizabeth, where I currently live. And I continued in that role for about 2 years before I decided actually that I wanted to change once again. And I then changed and became an independent consultant that now consults to all kinds of, to various different nonprofits. So I don't know if I managed to answer your question there.
You have answered my question in wonderful ways. Actually, what I got from what you shared now is that you were bold enough, maybe just because you were bored, or you just like, well, I'm going to keep trying and keep moving forward with what I know I want to do. You've actually found a way to decide that work has to fit into my life, and versus what we know is the conventional way of fitting my life around work. So I think that's pretty phenomenal. And also, just as you kept taking a step, you kind of said, well, I want to go this direction, not always maybe knowing where the path is going to lead, but actually having things fall into place. Like, for example, the remote work, moving to PE. I want to just also then touch on what you said about you and your husband. And I think this is something I also found very interesting, is that you both have a shared vision to live an unconventional life. I think if maybe one of you was more kind of go and get a permanent job, stay in this job, we need the security, it might not have worked. So how important is it to have your core relationships support this journey into the unknown?
I think definitely having them supported is vital. Like you don't necessarily need to be in a relationship like my husband and I, where we both are doing a similar kind of thing. But having somebody who's actually like, yes, I believe in you, and that no matter what happens, we'll figure this out, makes a huge difference. For me, I think in some ways he's probably pushed me more than I would have. I do tend to err more on the side of safety and security. And I maybe wouldn't have made some of the steps that I made as soon as I did. Or, for example, when I left the nonprofit that I used to work for, I left with no plan. Like I had no plan, no real clients, and so that was terrifying. And so without his actual support saying, do you know what, we don't have any plan, but we'll figure out how to live on one salary until you are able to bring in an income, really made a huge difference. But then I think it's been like mutual support, because last year during COVID, I was in a position where I didn't lose any of my work because I actually work with a lot of public health organizations, so they were needed more than ever. But he lost 90% of his work in 24 hours. And so then the reverse was happening, where it was now actually me stepping up and saying to him, like, yeah, we don't have a plan and we don't know what we're going to do. And we're back to living on one salary, but we've done this before and we can do it again. And so just having those people in your life that are like, I've got your back, is definitely necessary, because it is like a lonely thing really to be not doing the conventional thing that